So this is part 2 of the video where I'm going to show you how you can update a single workbook when you've consolidated several workbooks into one. And so let's get started. So I'm going to go into Visual Basic. And then in the previous video, I had just set it to a folder and I read every file in a folder. But now when I'm just updating a single department, I'm going to want to be able to just select a single file. And so I'm going to want to have the user be able to actually select that file individually rather than hard code it in there. So to do that, I'm going to just copy in my get open file name function that I had done in the tools tutorial. And I'm going to put it in the admin module. And that way I'm going to reference it. And all that's going to do is open the get open file dialog. And so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a new procedure called sub update department. And now I'm going to add a bunch of spaces just so I can clear out the previous one. And then I'll get started on writing the macro. So the first thing I've got to do is get the file name that I am going to be updating. So to do that, so what that does, it's going to call the get open file name macro that I have over here, and it's going to put the file that I select into this S file variable. One of the functions that I use here is the get open file name is I just do a by ref without a data type, and that'll actually create the variable as I'm writing this macro, so I don't have to declare it beforehand. Now that's kind of sloppy, but when you're writing a specific macro for a specific utility, you can kind of get away with it. And so I'm writing get open file name, and if I click cancel, it's going to exit out of the sub. So the next thing I'm going to do is declare a bunch of variables, and I'm going to actually open that file and read it. Now that I've got that written, so I just declare a bunch of variables here, and I do that just because I will use some IntelliSense later. And then I create a variable called bclose for Boolean of close, and I'm setting it to false because I want to know if I'm going to need to close the workbook after I do read it. And then in order to do this, I turn on error handling, and then I set my OBook variable to that. Now, if the workbook is open, this will actually succeed without a problem, and it'll actually set my variable. If the workbook is not open, it's going to throw an error, and that's why I have the error handling, and I always clear the error first just so I know I'm starting at 0. And then so if it's open, this will work and just the error number will still be 0. If it's not open, it'll error out because, hey, the workbook's not open. And then I know I need to close the workbook because it errored out. And then I actually open the workbook itself. And then I turn off error handling just because I want to get those debug errors if I have a problem with something else. But I said to turn it off just so I can actually verify whether the workbook is open or not. And so the next thing I'm going to do is actually got the workbook open. And so I'm going to actually read some information from the sheet. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm setting it to that first sheet of those workbooks. And then I'm going to just read the value in cell B1 of that particular worksheet. Now, what I'm going to have to do is go through and delete from my workbook here all of the department, because I'm just going to delete everything for that particular department and then replace it. And so what I'm going to have to do is actually loop through all my data and delete the previous the department that already existed in my workbook. And to make this a little easier, I'm going to rename the code name to this workbook or to this worksheet combined. That way I can reference it rather than having to say sheets combined or something like that. And so now I'm going to actually go through and loop through it. So what this does is it'll find the last row of A on my combined worksheet. So it essentially goes down to 1,000,000, and then it's like sending control end up. And so it'll find the row, and like this one will be 119. And so it's going to find that, and it's going to start at 119 and work my way up to level 2. And so that's what for I equals the end row 119 to 2. So I'm going to go that way, and I'm going to go step -1. So essentially it's going to go 119, 118, 117, all the way to 2. And I do that because I'm deleting rows. And when you're deleting rows, you want to increment negatively, because if I start from 2 and I delete a row, well, the next row is going to be 2 again. And so as long as if you go from a negative standpoint, you can delete rows and not worry about am I repeating a row or and stuff like that. So now that I've deleted the department that I'm re-importing, now I need to read the new data. And so I'm going to do essentially the same thing as I did before. Okay, so what I do here is I calculate the last row of the actual input book. So let's just say I choose this one. I'm going to choose my last row just like before. I'm going to just go through and I'm just going to do the exact same thing where I read the data and I paste it to my combined worksheet. And I'm using the IN combined that was calculated over here. So I know at the end of my combined sheet, so I'm where I'm at, and I'm going to essentially start pasting it one at a time here. And so that's what this is going to do. It's going to extend my combined worksheet by 1 and then paste all the data and just read it as it goes, just like in the previous video. And then I close. If it wasn't open, I'm going to close it again. And I'm going to say false here, just so it doesn't save changes to it. But that's only if it wasn't closed, if it or wasn't open. Then that's what I'm calculating here. If it's already open, I'm not even going to run this. I'm not going to worry about closing it. So now that I've read the data, I'm going to come back to my workbook and I'm going to resort it. And so now what this will do is it activates this workbook to get back to my summary workbook, selects the combined sheet just in case it's not the active sheet, and then it sets a key for my sort. And so that's an important function, because if you just try to sort without a key telling it which field to go by, it's not going to know what to do. And it's going to set the key to range A1, which I'm just saying if you wanted to be by name, the department name, you would set that to B1. And so like you can set that to whatever you want. I'm going to sort on the values. I'm going to sort it ascending, but this one, this is the department number in this particular workbook. And then I'm just going to sort it normal. Then I come down here and actually do some set range just to ensure that I'm going to use the full data, because you deleted data up here, and so the range deleted and added, and those rows may not be the same as any previous sort that you had. So it's important to reset the range that you're going to be sorting by. And then I'm saying it has a header, and then the apply. That's the actual command that's going to do the sort for you. So now I already have one of the books open, so I'm going to make a change to it. So I'm just going to say that is 155, just change a number on here. And I'm going to say add an item to, and I'm going to call it new building. And then give it an amount and just a random justification. And then I'm going to save it and I'm going to close it. And so now that was the compliance. There's these 3 things. It doesn't have my 4th thing. So now when I come over here, and I'm going to put some stops in here so we can actually see what's going on. So first thing it's going to do is run that. It's going to open the file. I'm going to choose compliance one. It's going to open the file. And so that was what this did. And so as you can see, it's open right now. And now it's going to go through and actually delete. It's going to go from 119 and then it's going to slowly delete until it actually gets to, and I'm going to F5, and it's going to, the first one it's going to delete is on row 10. And just put that there. I'm going to put another stop. I'm going to hit F5 again to go down here. And so what that did is it deleted 3 rows because I went from 119 to 116. Now I'm going to go through. So I've deleted all the rows that I were the previous department. Now I'm going to go through and read this information. And so it's going to get my end row, which should be 7 because I'm on row 7. So from 4 to 7, 4 to 7. And then it's just going to do this 4 times. And that is incrementing each time. And it's setting all my variables over here. So if I scroll down, you'll see that it added all 4 of those. And just to bring it back. And so now this wasn't open before, so it's going to close it. And then I'm going to activate this workbook, select. And as you can see, until I get here, when I click this, all the compliance should go to the top. And there it is. And that's done. So now I'm just going to bring this back to have all the code. I'm going to take out my stops. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little button for it. And so I'm just going to zoom out. And to do that, I'm going to go to my developer tab. And then I'm going to go insert button. I'm going to call it update department. Edit text. And now I have a button for it. So I can just click that and it'll run that get open file name and then it'll automatically do it. So I don't even have to go into the Visual Basic Explorer. So that is a quick way to consolidate workbooks and even have an option to include updated workbooks one at a time after the fact. I hope you enjoyed this video and please like and subscribe and I will see you in the next one.